An ordinary disposable lighter. But when we throw it away, we throw away a lot more. Eccentrics. Every time the tide comes in, it washes bits of plastic in. And most of these bits of plastic are things that we have thrown away. They either go into the land or, like this bottle top, they end up in the sea. And some of them, of course, end up in fish and animals living in the sea. Today I have seen 3 toothbrushes on the beach, 2 discarded cigarette lighters, and thousands, if not actually millions of pieces of broken plastic on this beach. And that's what happens when we don't recycle, when we don't think about how to dispose of the items that make our lives convenient and so comfortable. Because actually, it's killing not only the wildlife, but ultimately it will kill us as it poisons our environment. It is not clean. It is filthy with the obscene litter and toxic rubbish that you and I create and discard. That is the reality, and this happens every day, at every tide, on every beach around the world. To most people, the beach looks like that, but the reality is this. Of all the plastic litter I came across, I became most interested in disposable lighters because invariably they still contained flammable fluid. And it concerned me that so many were discarded to float in the sea or wash up on the beach. As a result, I noticed more and more of them on the beach, and along with other rubbish, began picking them up and taking them home. And then I started to notice discarded lighters everywhere, not just on the beach, under benches, in shelters, anywhere where people gathered outside to smoke, drink, or consume substances. I found them embedded in the mud in gutters on the road, and sometimes on benches where people had just left them or they had slipped out of pockets. It felt as though people were sending a message that they didn't care a toss about the damage they caused. And soon the number of lighters I brought home grew larger. What was I going to do with them? First, they needed to be cleaned. All were filthy, and early on I decided to use dog poo bags to pick them up, to avoid handling them. Then I washed them in disinfectant. But then what? Another item I'd picked up
that had been washed onto the beach was a discarded float or buoy. What could I do with that? I looked at the lighter. Then I looked at the float. And in my mind's eye, I saw them together. I researched glues that would stick plastic to plastic and tried different types with varying degrees of success. Eventually, I found one that worked and set to creating my vision, experimenting in my garden shed. I thought it would take several months, but the months grabbed into years. We couldn't always go to the beach, and the availability of lighters was sporadic. Sometimes I could find 3 or 4 in one day, while I could go for a stretch of days or several weeks without finding any at all. I picked up lighters. I disinfected lighters. I emptied lighters. I glued lighters, day after day. I had no plan, no drawing, just an image in my mind of the finished piece. I had no idea if the real thing would match this. And so, slowly, my vision took shape. From something like 300 lighters and fragments, a coat of hard spines spread over the globe like a deformed, prickly sea urchin, until one day, there it was. LightBuoy. Just as I had imagined it. Why create it? What does it stand for? What does it mean? With the rope already thread through the float when I found it, my intention was to create a mobile piece of art that could be picked up and held by anyone to experience it by touch as well as through sight. Like a sea monster, I imagined it swirling in the water, with lighter fuel leaking out and polluting the depths, a reminder of how little we value our environment, our planet, and that without us, without cheap, disposable plastic lighters, the world would be cleaner and safer for all other life.